Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. Now, let's get started. I manage my father-in-law's business. Hand over the accounts, passwords, and files, my mother-in-law insisted after his passing. Grab your stuff and leave, my husband sneered, standing next to his mistress. It's all yours, I said with a calm smile, passing them the folder. Their faces drained of color as they looked inside. My name's Rachel, I'm 33, and for the past 5 years, I've been running the show at my husband's family printing company, just outside Portland. It wasn't my dream job. I was a web designer, thriving in the flexibility of remote work. But when Derek's father died, I stepped in to lend a hand temporarily. That temporary role became my life. Derek took the spotlight as the company's public face, while I handled everything behind the curtain: billing, client emails, design tweaks, data fixes, and last-minute file prep. We couldn't afford extra staff. Derek operated the machines and made deliveries. His mother, Eleanor, lived with us above the shop, offering nothing but criticism. Always glued to that computer, she'd mutter one day while I finalized a major client's brochure. Can't you find a job that's actually useful? I held back my response. To her, my work wasn't real unless it left dirt on your hands. She didn't care that I kept half our clients loyal or that I'd overhauled the company's chaotic order system after Derek's father passed. If it wasn't physical labor, Eleanor called it idleness. I put up with her for Derek's father's sake. He was kind, fair, and trusted me completely. Before he died, he pulled me aside and said quietly, "Rachel, this business needs you. Derek can't manage it alone. You may not be blood, but you're the one I rely on." I never forgot that. What Derek couldn't handle, numbers, tech, contracts, I took care of without fanfare. I thought it was honorable. I thought they'd eventually notice. They didn't. After the funeral, Eleanor's complaints grew sharper. She hinted I wasn't doing enough. Derek, once supportive, started parroting her. "It's odd," he said one night as we climbed into bed. "I'm killing myself with deliveries, and you're just clicking away on a keyboard. Sometimes it feels like I'm carrying the whole load." I stared at him. "You think this company runs itself?" I asked softly. He shrugged. "Didn't Melissa used to handle that stuff?" That was the first time her name came up in years. Melissa, Derek's old friend and a former employee, had worked at the shop briefly before my time. According to Derek's father, she was a disaster, sloppy, lazy, and terrible with numbers, forcing him to redo her invoices by hand. She quit before she could be let go. Now, suddenly, she was back. First for a quick visit, then to check on Eleanor, then lingering for long coffee breaks in the office kitchen. Eleanor adored her. "Such a lovely girl," she'd say. "So helpful, so full of ideas." Ideas? Melissa couldn't even navigate our printing software. Yet Eleanor let her loiter while eyeing me like I was the issue. Something changed. Derek grew distant, staying out late for client drinks with no orders to justify it. Eleanor and Melissa whispered constantly, falling silent when I entered the room. I should have confronted them, but instead, I channeled my frustration into something else: writing. I started an anonymous blog called The Invisible Partner. I shared screenshots of absurd invoices, late-night desk clutter at 11:52 p.m., and tales of clients sending files in Comic Sans while expecting premium results. It was my outlet. Then it took off. Comments poured in. Shares multiplied. Within months, I had 50,000 followers, then 200,000. Ads came next, then guest post offers. Before long, I had a 6-figure audience and steady ad income. Nobody knew it was me. Not Derek, not Eleanor, not Melissa. I kept it secret, not out of shame, but because it was the first thing in years that belonged solely to me. That Friday felt routine. I was fixing a file for a high-profile medical journal client needing urgent reprints. Their submission had problems, unoutlined fonts, off-kilter colors. I contacted them, got approval for fixes, and worked through lunch to get it done. Derek had left at 3 p.m. for a quick beer with a supplier. Eleanor vanished around the same time, overdressed for a supposed grocery trip. At 6:30 p.m., the client called. "Can we get a sample delivered tonight? We need final approval by Sunday." It was Derek's job to handle deliveries, but I couldn't risk losing the client. I'll drop it off myself, I said. I printed the sample, boxed it, and drove across the river into the city. The client was happy. It should have ended there. On my way home, I decided to treat myself to a drink. As I parked near a downtown bar, I spotted a group on the sidewalk ahead, a man and woman arm in arm, laughing, with another woman beside them. I squinted. The man's walk, his build, his jacket, it was Derek. The woman on his arm, Melissa. And next to them, chatting like she was celebrating a triumph, Eleanor. My breath caught. I sank lower in my seat, shutting off the car's lights. They passed by, laughing at something Melissa said, and entered a fancy steakhouse with leather booths and $80 entrees. Derek held the door like a gentleman. Eleanor tossed her hair like royalty. Melissa leaned into Derek's shoulder. They didn't see me. I couldn't move. I sat in the dark, take-out coffee cooling in my cup holder, wondering how my life had slipped so far and if it was already gone. I didn't sleep that night. After seeing them, I drove home and sat in my car for 10 minutes, clutching the steering wheel. The image replayed. Melissa clinging to my husband like she belonged there, Eleanor beaming like she'd orchestrated it all. My world didn't just tilt, it broke silently behind tinted windows. I didn't cry or scream. I did what I always did, I planned. By 2 a.m., I'd packed a suitcase, gathered my laptop, flash drives, and company data backups, and stashed them in my car's trunk. I used my personal card to book a moving company for 9 a.m. I wasn't leaving anything to chance. At 5 a.m., I lay down fully clothed, staring at the ceiling until dawn broke and the facade of normalcy returned. They came back mid-morning, ran into Melissa downtown. Eleanor said casually, setting her purse down. Such a fun night. Derek trailed behind, yawning. Didn't know Portland had steaks that good. They weren't even hiding it anymore. They wanted me to know. I poured my coffee and walked past without a word. For the next 2 days, I played along, balancing the books, answering client emails, prepping layouts. I even smiled when Eleanor asked if I'd considered a real job. The movers arrived on time, collecting boxes labeled with my maiden name and delivering them to my parents' house. By Thursday, I was ready. So were they. It began with Eleanor cornering me in the office kitchen. Melissa's been telling us some things, she said, stirring her tea. Like how odd it is that we haven't seen any financial records from you. Or how convenient it is that you've controlled Dad's account since he passed. I turned to her. You think I'm stealing? Well, Melissa chimed in. It's suspicious. That was all I needed to hear. Later that evening, Derek brought it up over dinner. You're hiding something, he said, eyes on his phone. There's got to be insurance money, savings, something you're keeping from us. I've told you everything, I said. Your father's money went to last year's debts. Melissa thinks otherwise, he shot back. Melissa didn't even know your father, I snapped. She's known us since we were kids, Eleanor said, arms crossed. I looked at them. The new team had formed. Melissa had taken my place. If that's what you believe, I said evenly, then we're done talking. There's more, Derek said. I want a divorce. Pack your things and go. And hand over the company's accounts, Eleanor added. Passwords, banking records, everything. I stared at them for a long moment, then nodded. Fine. They were stunned by how quickly I agreed. No yelling, no pleading, no fight. That unnerved them. They didn't know I'd already moved out. My toothbrush, laptop, grandmother's earrings, all gone. I'd redirected my email and bank alerts to a new domain. To them, I was still the quiet wife who wouldn't push back. They had no idea I'd already escaped. The next day, Derek emailed me. Subject, divorce papers and final meeting. He wanted to meet at the office, with Melissa as a witness. Of course, I arrived 10 minutes early. The shop was quiet, just the hum of idle printers. Melissa sat at the desk, scrolling her phone, sipping something pricey looking. She didn't bother standing. Rachel, she said flatly. Melissa, I replied. The silence crackled with unspoken history. Derek and Eleanor entered moments later. Derek carried a folder. Eleanor wore a smug grin. Let's make this quick, Derek said, sliding the folder across. Sign, then hand over the documents, cards, logins, everything. No apology? I asked. For what? Eleanor scoffed. For letting you linger in this family too long. Melissa smirked. I opened the folder. Derek had signed. The terms were standard. Assets, liabilities, splitting nothing. I signed without a flicker of emotion and handed it back. Good, Derek said. Now the accounts. I pulled a black envelope from my bag. Here's the latest bank statements, access info, and operating data. Everything you wanted. Derek snatched it. Eleanor leaned in eagerly. Melissa joined them. I stood quietly as they opened the first statement. 3 heads bent forward. A pause, then a longer one. Melissa blinked. What? What is this? Derek flipped pages. Eleanor squinted. No, this can't be right. This is old. It's from this week, I said calmly. No, Melissa snapped. This balance. There's got to be another account. Derek kept flipping. Nothing changed. Melissa's hands shook as she reached the final page. Her eyes locked on the number. $28.94. She froze. $28, she whispered. 94 cents, I corrected. Derek's face paled. What the hell? Where's the rest? The inheritance? The insurance? Gone, I said simply. Spent on lease payments, truck repairs, utilities, materials, and your personal splurges. That's impossible, Eleanor said. We've seen the invoices. Money's coming in. It was, I said. But you and Derek burned through it. $300 boots, $90 gin bottles, while I paid off debts and refinanced the printer lease. Melissa opened her mouth, then shut it. So what now? She asked. That's it. No, I said, placing a manila folder on the table. Melissa flinched. Inside were loan repayment schedules, receipts from my personal accounts, and ledgers marking every time I'd covered their mistakes. I've been propping up the business with my own money, I said. Because I believed in it, because your father asked me to keep it going. What money? Derek asked, eyes narrowing. You don't have a job. I run a blog, I said. Started as a small vent, but now it's got 1.2 million followers, a book deal, and steady ad revenue. For the last 18 months, I've deposited nearly $6,000 a month into the company to cover your losses. Melissa's eyes widened. You're kidding. I'm not, I said. And since I loaned that money, not gifted it, the business owes me over $80,000, all documented, all legal. Derek stared at the ledger like it was in another language. Eleanor, speechless for once, sank into a chair. I'm no longer your wife, I said. But I'm your creditor. You'll pay me back. With what? Derek spat. We can't even make payroll. Not my problem anymore, I said. Melissa laughed bitterly. You're serious? She said to Derek. She's leaving you with a failing business, a mountain of debt, and $28. Derek stayed silent. Melissa turned to Eleanor. You said this would be simple. You said she was just some tech nerd behind a screen. She's been running everything, and you were too blind to see it. Eleanor opened her mouth, then closed it. Melissa looked at me. You're not letting them off, are you? I already have, I said. By leaving. I turned to Derek and Melissa. Keep her. I walked out head high. 3 days later, I signed a contract with a major print-on-demand company in the Pacific Northwest. They loved my blog's humor and insights and the audience I brought. I became their design consultant and back-end strategist. That same week, I sent Derek and Eleanor a formal notice through my attorney, loan repayment terms, receipts, and a reminder that ignoring it would lead to legal action and asset seizure. They didn't respond. Word spread. Within a month, over 70% of my personal clients canceled contracts with Derek's shop and contacted me directly. I hadn't asked, they just followed my email trail. Derek couldn't fix formatting errors. Eleanor didn't know how to open a PDF. 6 weeks later, I launched Reclaim Studio, a lean design boutique with 2 freelancers, a print broker, and a sleek online interface. No storefront needed. Clients loved it. 2 months later, Derek and Eleanor showed up at my parents' house. I was reviewing a university client's file when my dad called me to the porch. There they stood, Derek in a crumpled shirt, Eleanor looking aged. Derek dropped to his knees. I was wrong, he said hoarsely. I was stupid. Melissa got in my head. I don't know what I was thinking. Please, Rachel, come back. Help us rebuild. Eleanor bowed her head. We didn't see what we had. We're sorry. Come home. My mother appeared behind me, broom in hand, her silence deafening. Go ask Melissa, I said. Oh, wait. She's not answering your calls anymore, is she? They flinched. I kept this business alive while you ridiculed me. You let her turn you against me, and now you want my help? Derek pleaded, please. I took a deep breath, stepped back, and shut the door. My parents sprinkled salt on the porch, not out of superstition, but for closure. 2 months later, a bankruptcy attorney called. Rachel, I represent a small printing company owned by your former in-laws. They're in financial distress. Your name appears repeatedly in their debt log. Before we liquidate, would you consider acquiring the company? I paused. Acquire it? I hadn't stepped foot in that shop since I left. How much? A few thousand. The equipment's old, most clients are gone, but it has sentimental value. Sentimental value. I thought of Derek's father, who once said, if it falls apart, take the reins. You're the only one who can steer it right. I told the attorney I'd think about it. A week later, I visited his grave. I placed a small bouquet by his stone, sat cross-legged, and let the quiet settle. I tried, I said aloud. I really did. But your son and wife couldn't get out of their own way. I opened my phone to the proposal document. They want me to buy the company back, salvage it, put my name on it. A breeze stirred the trees. I could rebuild it, maybe as a satellite print line, hire a real team. I could even bring Derek back, just as a worker, no title, no control. The wind stopped. I smiled. Yeah, I didn't think you'd like that idea either. Back home, I updated my blog. New post, when your ex tries to hand you the ashes of the business he torched, calling you the leech. The comments exploded instantly. I closed my laptop, leaned back, and let the silence wrap around me. Free at last.